Hey, everybody, welcome to the Brave Healing Podcast. I'm Laura DeFranco, and it is my mission to build a revolution of healers who are sharing their words and messages out loud and changing the world one brave word at a time. Thank you guys so much for being here to listen in today and for being part of that revolution. This is one of those very special episodes because I have 4 of the amazing 25 authors of the new book, The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing Techniques, here to help me with my mission today. The Ultimate Guide to Self-Healing Techniques is a collection of 25 powerful holistic practices and tools you can use at home for peak health and wellness. You'll learn from 25 experts who are sharing themselves, their stories, and their passions and transformational tools with you. You guys, most tool books that I own, they concentrate on only one tool. And it was my very specific goal with this book to have a unique collaboration of tools instead. I think that when I introduce these amazing women to you today, you are going to understand just what kind of badassery is in this book. And listeners, in celebration of the new book, this episode that you're listening to is available in a full video format inside a very special group on Facebook for our Amazon purchasers. So if you're wanting access to all 25 authors with special interviews, Q&A, video trainings of the tools, bonuses, giveaways, oh my goodness, so much awesome stuff, please see the show notes, because I've got some links that you can click on and get involved in that. So now, without further ado, here to help me talk Brave Healing, I have 4 of our 25 outstanding authors to share with you. Bonnie Chase is the founder of Wild Woman Nation. She's a holistic RN, women's wellness coach, and self-care advocate. She's a conformity slayer, a truth seeker, and a free-spirited introvert, as am I. I love your bio, Bonnie. Her mission, simply helping women tap into their intuition and listen to their bodies to create a healthy and happy life. I also have Dr. Erica Putnam with me. She's a holistic chiropractic physician and owner of The Bend in Whitefish, Montana. She treats spinal conditions and advocates for rehabilitation and wellness that includes physical, emotional, and energetic well-being. She has over 20 years of experience in chiropractic and holds a 500-hour yoga instructor certification. Also with us today is Dr. Stacy Snow. She's a doctor of physical therapy, creator of the Purposeful Body Method, co-author of this amazing book, and a health and performance specialist in Falls Church, Virginia. She helps ambitious entrepreneurs perform at their highest levels by creating a personalized self-care performance plan to develop the physical and mental strength, inspiration, and confidence they need to excel. And lastly, I have Lori Calvo, using expertise in wholeness coaching and skills as a Reiki practitioner, national board certified health and wellness coach. Lori Calvo is honored to serve brave men and women who are ready to show up in their lives and thrive. You can connect with Lori at her justshowupcoaching.com platform, and I'm going to have all of the authors' websites linked up for you guys in the post you're watching or the show notes on the podcast, so you guys can explore further. Whew. Welcome, ladies. It's a lot to say, right?
Yeah.
We were joking earlier that if I had read through all of your full bios, we would be here for at least the entire hour, because you guys are all amazing women with so many amazing gifts to share with the world. Let's start with Bonnie. Bonnie, talk to us a little bit about your chapter. Why essential oils?
Oh, wow. So I am passionate. I love natural healing and natural medicine. So I stumbled upon essential oils probably 10 years ago, and I use them every day in my life. So to maintain actually my health and wellness regimen. And when I had the opportunity to join, that was the first thing that came to mind was essential oils, because I use them so much in my own life. And also in my chapter, I show you a technique that I use the essential oils in my healing process to shift my belief systems and my limiting beliefs to more positive and more beliefs that were more in line with me and my growth process. So it's a fun little technique. It's easy. You can do it anywhere. And so with the power of the essential oils and the scent of the oils, it helps anchor those new beliefs and into your brain. And after doing that multiple times and over time, it becomes your new belief. So, that's why I just, that's why I chose essential oils for my chapter.
I love essential oils. I became a fan a really long time ago, but I didn't really become a user. It sounds like I'm using drugs or something, which it kind of is in a really good way, right? But I became like a regular user, and after I learned a little bit more, because I think normal people, regular people who are seeing the oils and sort of, I don't know, seeing advertisements or hearing other people talk about it, they might hear about lavender. Lavender is like all over the place. Everyone talks about lavender, stick it on your pillow and you'll fall asleep more. But when I realized I could pair it with what you're talking about, pair it with awareness practices, then I was like, okay, dude, you got to get me into this a little bit more, because I could see the power of the brain science, which we could talk all day long about, right? But so I know you could have talked about a lot of different tools, and that, this is the one I think that might be easiest for people to pick up on and run with.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about one of your favorite ways to use oils in terms of, you talked about the belief system, but give me another one.
So I'll just give you a current day one that's really a lot of people probably are going through right now with our, health crisis in the world. But lack of sleep, or sleep that's not sound, or, you go to bed at night, you're just up and down, and, it's just not a good sleep. So one of the things I've been doing, I use it a lot, lavender oil basically is one, but I've also added in some chamomile and also some cedar wood. And that really helps to, ground your body. It also helps to, help you sleep a little bit deeper, and just a little bit better relaxation. So I've had to increase my essential oil use in this situation, so I could sleep better and release more stress. So I've added that in a little bit, and it's great for sleep.
And that's going to be that was a common problem for people before the current issue.
Right.
Right. So I think that's what's so important here too, is it's probably time for people to understand all of the different tools that they have available to them. And I believe that there are many of us searching right now for more because of the levels of anxiety that are going on right now. And it's one of the reasons why this book is so timely, to give people some hope and some ideas and, some different ways to tackle what they're feeling. And I should have said it before, but I just wanted to thank all of you so much for being willing to share yourself with your amazing stories in the book, but then also being brave and teaching the tool and giving people. It was my goal to give them a full experience by the end of your chapter. So each one chapter is this little gift, it's not just a teaser, like you're giving us a whole recipe to work through in your essential oil chapter, so that by the end we can really feel something and feel a difference. So thank you, and thank all of you for doing that in your chapter. So I'm going to move over to Erica right now. You ready to chat about your chapter, Erica?
Absolutely.
So why so you do a cool combination of chiropractic and yoga work. And so you talked a little bit about spinal mobilization and the ways that people can really mobilize their body. Talk to me about the chapter and the tool.
The chapter is a little bit about my story of how I got into chiropractic and why. And that has to do with just I had a really active father who ran, and we were always doing things outdoors. So it's early on in my life, it really made me recognize that our health is really our own personal responsibility, and more from a holistic approach. So more inside out than outside in. And so when I think about, why spinal mobilization, so much of that has to do with neurology and our connection to the brain and how posture is affected and how we really have to take that first step, which might be posture and might be moving our body parts. So spinal to me is the core. So we're working from the core, from the inside out. So there's a little bit in the chapter about how and why chiropractic, how and why holistic healing, how and why personal responsibility. And then there are 2 tips at the end, just easy ways to integrate movement into the day. So it's not necessarily that you have to change your clothes and have a workout routine, but some things to do during the day so that mobility becomes something that we do every hour, that we have a consciousness about moving, that we have a consciousness about our posture, and we also have a consciousness about our health. So it's not just something we think about for 1 hour a day, but during the day, throughout the day, having the mindfulness of what is our core, and that core not only being spine, but also what is our emotional core, what is our come from when it comes to health and well-being. So to me, it's a little bit of both of those things and how to integrate them into just maybe mindfulness through these little tips that we're all offering.
One of the things I love the most about every single author in this book is their holistic approach, and you are a great example of that. I think that growing up and accessing a more traditional medical system for me was really challenging, to say the least. I have some stories, as many people have. And I think the thing I appreciate most about having a chiropractor's point of view, but not just any chiropractor, one that sees the body, mind, and soul as a holistic system to be treated, right? Not just, and I'm going to get around to all of you guys about holistic and talking about that a little bit. But when did you know that you couldn't just treat the body?
That's a funny question. I don't know when that happened. It probably happened with repeatedly seeing patients over and over. That what I finally came to recognize is that I could adjust people all day long, but if I couldn't get them to exercise, I couldn't get them to hold, and I couldn't get them above better, right? They might always come back to some sort of baseline okayness, but eventually they would backslide instead of move forward. And so I think when I was young, I taught aerobics, and I've always lifted weights, and I've always had some sort of physical thing. So when I came upon yoga, I kind of felt like it was something that I could integrate easily. It was, here's 3 or 4 poses, at least start here, basic things. And then I think that also I realized that stress does a lot of what we're doing. So if people are even exercising and getting adjusted and doing other things, having a good diet, if they have a high stress level, things just don't hold as well. The biochemistry just has a degenerative effect. So I think somewhere in all of that, I recognize that adjusting just is great. It's a great therapy. It's a great service. It's a great medicine, but it just has to be more inclusive if people really want to get above some kind of baseline to get better. So I think just at some point that you recognize, wow, what do I do? How do I really make this long lasting?
Yeah, you've used the word hold, if I could help them hold. And so just wanted to say really quick for me as a physical therapist, that means that they're able to maintain the results that you're getting as a practitioner client team, you know, beyond the office and even beyond just a day, maybe several days, maybe a week, you know. And so when that is happening, the client is feeling some momentum in the process that you're helping them with. And so I was hearing that word hold when you said it a couple of times. I appreciated you describing it like that. So I'm going to move on next to Miss Lori Calvo. Talk to us about your chapter. I probably have 3 or 4 or 10 questions about your chapter, but why did you choose Just Showing Up?
Well, I think the reason I did that was because that became so clear to me that was the modality that I was using to make my life okay, to make it so that I could be whole. You know, you talk about being holistic and wholeness. And when I was thinking about what my coaching practice be, and it just seemed like wholeness made the most perfect sense for me. I wanted to be whole. So that's why I call myself a wholeness coach. And then when I drilled down to how did I start to feel whole myself, it was simply just showing up. And I make it sound like it's very easy. Wake up, I'm just going to show up and it's all good. It wasn't that easy. But as I thought about what it was, that was it.
So I appreciate you tackling this particular subject. I think it's a foundational subject for anybody who's feeling depression, anxiety, and I don't know anyone who's not feeling that right now. You know, we all have levels of it. We all have levels of it throughout our whole life. So, and I realize you could have probably talked about a lot of different kinds of tools that you share with the people that you help. I'm thinking of a time when I really wanted to be out and about, and I wanted to go be with other people in terms of, I knew it would be healthy for me to show up, and however I was going to show up. It didn't matter really how I looked or how I was feeling. It really, what mattered is that I got my ass out of the house and I put my body into that environment. So what is how I want you to answer this question. So what will happen?
If you do that?
Yeah. What were you hoping what would be the result of you actually showing up?
At first, I don't think I had a thought of what I wanted that to be. I just knew that it was something I had to do because, you know, you mentioned depression, and that's definitely part of my story. And when for me, when I'm in the depression, the last thing I want to do is be with other people. I don't even want to be with myself, but I don't want to be with other people. But when I'm smart about it, I recognize how important it is to get out. It doesn't necessarily mean to be outside or out physically with other people, just to get out of that curled up ball position that you tend to get into when you're having those emotions. And I think for me, it really was simply wanting to feel different, not wanting to stay in that space anymore, and wanting to embrace life and what it meant to be whole, because I'm fully responsible for that for myself.
For me, I think it was the shift of energy. It was plain and simple. So if I could get out, and you're right, didn't have to be with a group of people or other people, although that was its own positive energy shift, right? But for me, that was the thing. If I could do it enough times to give myself the proof that it worked, then, right? And then I could just do it because I knew every single time it would shift the energy enough to help me feel different, like maybe out of that curled up ball.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so what did you come to rely on then after you got some of that proof? What was happening to change things for you?
Well, the first thing was, which I wrote about in my chapter, was I discovered that other people didn't have a problem with me showing up in what I deemed as unacceptable way to be. And other people were fine with that. I had close friends who were happy to love me and were happy that I was there. People who I didn't know very well, colleagues and things I've met too. And it was interesting to get, people also thought it was brave, which was fascinating to me because it didn't feel brave. It just really felt like survival. It just felt like something I absolutely had to do. And if that's brave, okay, that's cool. I'll take that. That's not a bad way to be. So
Definitely. I love hearing you explain this. I think that, you know, each of you are tackling sharing your story and teaching your tool in writing form in this book. And that may have been a first time thing for you or not. You know, I know several of you have done writing and some of you haven't. Many of our authors expressed, but they didn't do it out loud. They hadn't published. They were doing it for themselves, and that was fine. And then you take it to the next level and you try to do it for other people, and then all of this stuff gets in the way, right, in your head about it, the not good enough stuff. But I think that part of the responsibility that we have as healers is that expression, is that attempt to explain, right? Because we know we're going to help somebody if we at least try to do that. And so, Lori, I love the way that you're talking about this, because I can feel inside of me as the way you describe it is going to help so many people, because they just are sitting there going, oh my gosh, that's exactly how I feel. And, you know, I love that. So thank you. Thank you for being you.
thanks.
So, Stacy, talk to us about trigger point release. Okay, you are a perfect example of somebody who could have taught 20 tools, all right? And I was actually the one who asked you, I'm like, can you please tackle this topic, because it's a total physical therapy topic. But tell me a little bit about how you approach that topic, and also just about how you work with people in terms of your holistic physical therapy.
Sure. So that was a good topic actually for you to suggest, because it is something that I do use a lot. A big part of that is because so much of my practice is about empowering people to be able to treat themselves, as is the whole context of this book. But with trigger points, it's something that all of us have them, and they can cause a lot of effects that you wouldn't necessarily think. So having trigger points in certain parts of your neck musculature and your upper back can be contributing to headaches and jaw pain. Trigger points in your glutes can be contributing to hip pain and even contributing to knee pain. So there's lots of different areas that these things will show up where people are having pain and they just have no idea. But if we can identify where the pain is and then where it's originating, and trigger points, it's not just because of a muscle problem. Usually there's an underlying joint issue that's going on, something related to posture and how we're holding our body that's contributing to it. So we obviously want to be looking at those things as well. But once we can identify that and then figure out the way to release it, which is actually pretty simple, which I talked about in the chapter, there's really simple tools that you can use once you know where those spots are, that you can apply pressure and it will start to release it. And so when we're releasing those tissues, then it's allowing the blood flow to come back into that area. It's allowing those muscle tissues to lengthen again. And so it's freeing up the body to be able to move like it's meant to. And so it's a tool that people find to be really empowering, because they don't realize how much of an effect these trigger points are having on their body and on their pain and on their symptoms. And then after just spending a couple of minutes with the ball or a foam roller to release it, then all of a sudden they can move better and they feel better and they're not having that pain that they were having. And so that's a very powerful thing, because it's a definite cause and effect. So we'll treat this one area and then test it again, see how it's moving, see how it's feeling, and then they can definitely see a change right away. And so that's motivating for people to continue doing it. So it's been something that's been really useful and really helpful, and my patients have enjoyed it and found really great relief and improvement from a lot of things that they've been dealing with for a long time.
I love the topic of empowering our clients to help themselves. Of course, that's like the goal of this whole book, right? And what a gift you give somebody to show them something that they can do that actually really works. I had a moment this week, and here I am as a holistic physical therapist. I probably should call myself a trigger point release expert. And I did, I don't know about you guys, but, I've taken on a couple of things this week or this month with the lockdown, and I wanted to exercise every day. So I decided to get super, super gung-ho about it. And I was doing push-ups every day. And I do push-ups a couple times a week on a normal basis, but I hit it 3 days in a row. I made my goal like 50 push-ups, and I woke up with a headache. Speaking of headaches, and I didn't really totally figure out that it was my push-ups creating those trigger points in the upper traps that was giving me my headache, until I woke up at 1 a.m. with a migraine, vertigo symptoms. And I'm like, shit. And then I had to really sort of take a breath and realize that I had tools, right? Because the pain that people experience can be debilitating, panic inducing. But when you're giving them tools that they can think of, remember, and then actually perform that work, empowering isn't even the word. It's like they get all their power back. They even get excited and motivated to the point of being able to teach their family, their friends, have the story to tell. So I love how you're tying this physical tool in with empowerment. It's the best ever. So I want to know just a little bit about, talk to us about what the Purposeful Body Method is. I love that title.
Sure. So one of the things that I started to realize over the past couple of years is just that I do really believe that everyone has a purpose, whether they have discovered it or not. Everyone is at a different level on that scheme of things. So some people maybe have an idea, some people have already really dove into what their purpose is, but I do believe that everyone has one if they were to take the time to investigate that. And one of the things that I do with my my program is basically help people create a self-care program where they are taking care of their physical body first, and then also addressing their mental health and emotional health and all of those things that make us a holistic whole person. And so we want to address all of those things and really prioritize them. And then once we can optimize all of those things and we start feeling better physically, we start feeling more confident, we feel physically stronger, and then also mentally and emotionally stronger, then that naturally starts to bring out these more deeper feelings of purpose and the fact that we actually believe in ourselves enough to be able to pursue it and to follow it because we feel good physically. We're ready to get out of bed and start the day and take on whatever comes to us because we have built up that internal and external strength, that physical strength and mental and emotional strength.
I love it. Thank you. All right, you guys, this brings us to our speed dating question version of the show. Are you guys ready? All right. So everybody so far has talked about a holistic perspective, and the book is really that. It is treating the person as a mind, body, and soul. And I want to know, let's go back to Bonnie for a minute. Bonnie, why holistic in terms of healing? You get 2 sentences to answer. I know.
Oh.
I know.
So, let's see, 2 sentences.
You don't have to follow the rules,
I know.
Bonnie. We know about that.
So I've spent years working as a registered nurse, and I've seen that physical focus is basically all there is to the traditional medical care. And I see how that people lack in the other areas of their life, how their mind and their spirituality affect those parts of their life, and they're not addressed. So I began to dig deep into that, those other alternative type parts of our lives, and I realized soon how much effect that has on people's bodies. So it's not just the physical part of us that makes the difference. We do have to look at the food, and we have to look at the the mindset that we have, the beliefs and the thoughts that we tell ourselves every day, and also the spiritual aspects of us in order to be whole.
I like that answer. Good job. Erica, how would you talk about holistic in terms of your healing process?
I think part of healing is also happiness. And, like Bonnie was saying, that when medicine is focused on the physical, we sometimes aren't necessarily looking a little bit deeper about how happiness has an effect on us. And so the holistic part can be anything that makes us happy, whether it's friends, family, relation, food, finding your purpose. I think all of those things make a difference. So it's just another way to look at what is health, because I don't think health is limited to the physical component.
I love that answer, mostly selfishly, because the story I tell goes something like, when I prioritized joy, I was starting to get comments made to me like, how do you have so much energy? And that is my answer. That was the answer to what makes me, look like an alien to a lot of people in terms of my energy levels, is that I started to unapologetically prioritize my own joy and happiness. And that's all, man, we could talk for an hour about the holistic aspect of health and healing when it comes to that energy. It's an energy, and when you bring it to yourself, and like you said, I love it when in any of those ways you're bringing that kind of energy to you. So I love it. Thank you. Lori, how would you talk about holistic in terms of the healing process? Why that word? Why is it important?
Well, it's important because it fits in nicely with the whole, with the circle that I talked about before. But for me, looking at things like a wheel. So if one part of your wheel isn't as robust or isn't in the same place as other parts of your wheels, you have a bumpy ride. So, we look at that in coaching, and there's various wellness wheels that are out there that you can look at to see what maybe you might want to look at. And the part that I love the best is it's totally customizable. So it's whatever is happening in your life, whatever is happening on your wheel or not happening on your wheel, you can look at and address. And the tools that I use, or the things I put in the chapter, those work for me. They can be altered for other people. You can pick your own thing, and it's whole to you. So you're holding it, it's whole. It's kind of a play on that word in a lot of different ways.
I love that visual of the wheel. That right away, that gives you an idea that if one spoke is off, you're off. And then it's actually just helps you, because then it doesn't become some big secret where you need to attend to. I think people get a little bit caught up in and confused about what it is, but most of the time it's staring you in the face. You're feeling it. You could be ignoring it, but a lot of the times it's not, and it's not a secret for sure. So I love the idea of the wheel to find that out. Thank you. Stacy, holistic. So Stacy is a fellow holistic physical therapist like I am, and I started putting that word in front of physical therapist on purpose a long time ago because of the way I thought about everything. So tell me your version, Stacy.
So a lot of the time in traditional medical services, in particular physical therapy, it seems like there's a big focus on a particular body part. So somebody's coming in for knee pain, so we treat the knee, or someone's coming in for neck pain, we treat the neck. And it's just not often enough in traditional care anyways, where the whole entire person is treated, where we're looking at everything. So we're looking especially at stress, as we've mentioned a couple of times before, that has such a huge effect on our physiology and our physical body. And so looking at that, and looking at relationships, and looking at quality of sleep, and looking at the food we're putting into our body, all of those things create this comprehensive view of what it is to be a human, and a healthy one, or an unhealthy one at that. So I think it's really difficult to fully treat someone without addressing that whole broad picture. Because if we're just looking at their knee pain, like
Uh-oh. You froze, Miss Stacy. I love
We're
the
not treating.
Oh, there she is. You might have to back up a sentence.
Oh no.
Yeah. There was a little freezing action going on there.
Oh no. So I'm not sure where I cut off, but I was basically just saying, you know, we have to just treat the whole person, because if we're missing any of those important components, even if everything else is ideal, even if their strengthening is ideal and their joints are moving the way that they should, but if they're having terrible sleep, or their relationships are really in turmoil, or they're having a lot of unmanaged stress, then all of that is still going to be showing up physiologically. So it's super important to be able to address all of those things as a human in order to be able to get them to be at their highest levels possible.
Nice. Yes. You're naming all the different cogs on the wheel that Lori talked about. And I love that. And what I think of is possibilities. So each one of those areas, a wonderful possibility for improvement. If you've never dabbled in those areas, right, to try to feel better. And that's what another thing I love about the book too, because there are people hitting mind, body, and soul topics. Most everybody is integrating, which I know you all know is important. It's that integration of the mind, body, soul in everything that we do. I think that gives us the most potential for improvement and healing. Okay, here's the next speed dating question for you. Let's go back to Lori Lori, tell me the absolute best thing about being a healer, about helping people.
There's so many. Wow.
I know.
Don't even know where to start with that. I think I say it all the time. I'm totally honored to if I say 2 words and it's helpful in some way, it's like, oh, I'm deeply, deeply touched by that. And it's amazing to think that anything that I've been through, as an example, or things that I've felt or seen or done, or somehow means something to somebody else. And that I've been able to do that is just the most remarkable thing, to bring something to someone else. I don't really have proper words for it. It's just overwhelming how great it is sometimes.
I love that. Thank you. How about you, Erica? Talk to me about the best part about doing what you do.
I think somewhere a long time ago, I realized that everyone suffers at some time, at some point. And when you are able to give people relief, it's just a joyous thing. And it's hard because sometimes I want the world for someone. You want them to have a really big, long lasting relief. And so I think at some level, I have always had to realize even a little relief is good. A lot of relief is great. But it's a really valuable thing to provide. Like you were talking about a headache, right? If you can just get away from that so that you can make some better decisions or have, a good cup of coffee, there's a lot of value in relief. So I think for me, that's a big component of it.
I love it. Thank you. Stacy, what's the best part about being a healer?
I think I'm just really grateful to be able to have the tools to be able to help someone to be able to live better or feel better or kind of move about their day better or maneuver through their relationships in a more powerful way, or to, improve their sleep habits and patterns so they can wake up feeling refreshed and excited. And I think a lot of it comes back to that idea of purpose and just feeling like everyone has that inside of them. It's just sometimes it's covered up by all of these different things. And being able to be a part of helping to uncover that, I feel like is helping to make the world a better place, and just a tiny little ripple here and there that goes out into the world, but just feeling like I'm helping to make a positive change and a positive difference just by helping, one person at a time be able to feel better about themselves or, their life or their health. So I think that's a huge part of it, is just feeling like it's putting out these little ripples of positivity just by these tools that I'm grateful to be able to have access to.
I love the word ripple, and a few other authors in some different interviews have used that word. I think that the ripple has started with us, and in your journey, being willing to be brave and seek out your own healing, because we then get to share what we learn, and we hold that space for other people by having been in it, right? And y'all are so amazing in terms of your journeys and your willingness to walk the walk and to just keep diving deeper so that you have more experience then to give out to the next person. I think that's what makes healers an incredible group of people. They chose that journey, and it's for warriors. It is, not for the faint of hearts. And we all know that because we're in it. So I love hearing that about the ripple. We are definitely creating a humongous ripple right now. Bonnie, what's your favorite part about helping people out?
When I can help a woman step into her own power and get rid of all the shit that she's gone through in her life and take that as just a stepping stone, a lesson learned, and knowledge to move forward, it really just makes me feel good inside. And I feel so in my purpose to be able to help someone through that process and live a much happier life. So, and I know that when that happens, that then it does create that ripple effect where she then can go out and help another person, and it just keeps paying itself forward. So,
and I hope you all are feeling this answer from each of our authors, because it is a feeling. And honestly, selfishly, I get to feel that. I also get to receive as a healer. And there was a part in my journey where I realized, I knew I was a giver. I've been a giver since I was born, right? We are generations of givers. But there was a point where I realized that could be an energetic receiving as well. And how amazing that being a healer is a two-way street if you open yourself up to, that kind of energy. So yeah, totally cool. Okay, last speed dating question for you all. Let's stick with Bonnie. What do you love to do so much you lose track of time?
oh my gosh.
And it can't be essential oils. Pick something else.
I love to read. I'm a book junkie. I've got bookcases in my house. It's terrible. But
says only Marie
right.
Kondo says that's terrible. You get to keep all your books, according to Laura.
I know, right? It's not terrible. It's wonderful.
Yes.
I can just get lost in learning. I am just a learning junkie, and the more I learn, the more I feel like I grow. And it's just another, more knowledge, more tools to put in my basket, and even, as selfishly to heal myself.
I think that's probably, if you made a list of the, the top 10 marks of a healer, it would be that they stay in a beginner's mind, and that they are in a learning, a lifelong learning. We need to make that top 10 list. I think that would be a cool thing. Stacey, what do you love so much you lose track of time?
So there's a lot of things, but I think if I had to just choose one, it would be hanging out with my 4-year-olds, who, let's be honest, drives me a little crazy sometimes. But when it comes down to it, she is just the funniest, spunkiest, quirkiest little kid. And there's nothing that fills me up more than just being completely goofy and present and silly, and not having anything hold me back, not worrying about how I'm appearing, if I'm appearing like a total goof with her, and that just energizes me so much most of the time. And then I think also along those same lines, just being able to teach her things and instill a confidence in her that I feel like I didn't always have as a kid. So I think that that has been this really amazing process that I've been able to go through over the 4.5 years that she's been here. Is just, you know, there are certain things that I wish that I had growing up as a kid, and I feel like I have the capability of giving all of that to her. And so that really fills me up so much and just energizes me to be able to know that I am being able to provide that to her, and hopefully helping to create this confident, spunky little person who's going to be able to live her purpose without, you know, apologies, and bringing something good into the world.
I hear you on that one. This topic is up for me right now. I was asked to write a chapter for a book, a parenting book, but my chapter is about giving up the guilt, that have to do it all type of thing as a mom, you know, to be a good parent. And I could echo a lot of the things you said about being with my kids, my daughter in particular, and watching them become these fearless little beings who will be going after purpose in a different way than we did, you know? And I think we can pat ourselves on the back that our awareness journey helped that along. And I like to think that I had a hand in it, you know, who knows? But I love that. Thank you. Lori, what do you love so much, or love to do so much you lose track of time?
Now, you know, I'm very familiar with this question.
I know you are.
You asked this one a
It's
lot.
my favorite prompt ever.
You would think I would have come up with something that really, that's the one. But like everyone seems to have said so far, there are multiple things. And at this current point in my life, that would have to be writing.
Hey, how did that happen? Oh my goodness. I love that answer. I'm going to have to talk about that answer for a minute.
I think you should.
Oh, you guys, seriously. And you know, that's one of mine as well. But I think why I get so tickled about you saying that is you just, I mean, you did a little moment for me for my purpose right there by saying that. Because that's what fills me up so much, is to watch somebody who has, I will say, published their words, meaning that it's not just in a journal just for them anymore. It's like out there. And to watch that woman sometimes break down in tears when someone else has read it and really understood for the first time who they are and what they do from that they're sharing that way. Like, oh yes, I love that. So thanks for saying writing. Is there anything else you wanted to say about that?
Well, I mean, you know, even from, I mean, this chapter was amazing, but even just from the couple of blogs I put out, my guest blogs I've done, it's, and I've written other things before in other settings for work and things, but it's just sort of coming down. It's so obvious to me how much this fills me up. And you talked about people who respond, and I hear from that too. And it's remarkable. It's just remarkable.
Agree. Thank you. Erica, what do you love to do so much you lose track of time?
Well, besides the compulsion with writing, I would say nature.
You called it a compulsion. Oh no.
Can't stop. It's so fun, but
It is.
I think other than that, it's nature. Like whether I'm on a hunt or whether I'm on a hike, or probably my favorite thing is I have 2 friends that own flower farms, and one of them is a dahlia. I can spend so many hours, and I just go around and I say, "You're my favorite. You're my favorite. You're my favorite." The love just gets so big, and it's beauty and it's growth and it's hands in the dirt, and that's just, for me, a really healthy, happy space is in nature.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that one. I was just telling someone the story of where I live here in Bethesda, Maryland, just traveling north a little bit up River Road. I can't remember the name of the sunflower farm. It's like a public area, and you can go park your car there and walk back into the sunflower fields. And it's like one of my very favorite things to do. It's every July, you know, we kind of figure out what the peak week is going to be for all of the sunflowers. But you're just giving me that visual. So thanks for that. Ladies, thank you so much for being part of this project. I know that the people listening today are loving getting to know you a little bit better, hearing your voices and hearing your thoughts about the chapter that you wrote. So if you listeners haven't purchased this book yet, you're going to be wowed by the 25 different expert authors. Head over to the notes. I've got some links there for you. If you're listening within our special launch period, you can come on over to a Facebook group where we are doing lots of things besides these video interviews that you're going to want to be involved with. Some giveaways and some bonuses and some live stream teaching, and oh my goodness, so much badassery. So finally today, you guys, I want to leave you with this idea. You were born, so you are worthy. Your message matters. What if the thing you're still a little afraid to share is exactly what someone needs to hear to change or even save their life? It is time to be brave.